Have you ever been mad at God? So I'm going to tell a little story about how I got mad at God. If you've watched any of the videos before, you'll have seen this where I talk about when Dad died. When my father died, I stood at his funeral and spoke. And what I talked about was being able to love your neighbor and to be able to help each other, to pretty much pull the churches together. And I did not shed a tear. I stood there, the strong son. The time leading up to his death, I was doing a lot of different ministry type things and helping people. And actually, before Dad died, I had a lot of friends pass away. And then Dad passes away. Well, before Dad passed away, Bill Bumgarner, a mentor to me, just a couple years before Dad, and a friend of mine, James, and it was a lot of people back to back. Dad, and then Dad kind of broke my back, and I was in denial for a little while, and still reaching out, trying to help people. And I think what I was doing was trying to make reason for it. Before Dad died, I had worried so much about his soul. And before he had cancer, before any of it, I prayed just unceasingly at the altars several times, and sometimes 10, 15 minutes. And if you've ever prayed, 10, 15 minutes is a long time. And I prayed, I said, God, whatever you got to do, get my dad to know. I want to know that he knows you. Because my father was a deacon, but he also had a drinking problem. And I hate to share that, but it needs to be said. And he was a Vietnam veteran. And he had seen a lot and done a lot, you know. But I was worried about his soul, so I prayed. I said, whatever you got to do to get him to know you, do it. And on top of that, I said, God, to straighten me out, to get me as close as possible to you, tear my life to pieces. Whatever's not of you, tear it out. Just rip it out. I don't know why I prayed that. I don't know what level of stupid the second one. But you know, when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, it was like a week later he quit cold turkey drinking. My dad drank every day except for Sundays for as long as I could remember. And I know long before me. And in the last year, he really had a yearning to learn about who God was. Now, my dad didn't shed a tear when they told him he had cancer. He just said, and they asked him, Orlaska, he said, Jim, this is usually the part where you cried out, and they said, what's that going to do? It ain't going to stop it. I still got cancer. It's still going to kill me. And he worked all the way up until, well, Dad passes away. So I ain't quite mad at God yet. Money starts running out. I'm starting to overpromise and trying to do for everybody. And I heard comments like this. Well, your dad's been dead, 6 months. I mean, we need you to make a decision. We need you to do this. We need you to do that. And I'm like, wow, that's how deep the Christian world is. That's how deep love is from from all these Christians. And nobody really was there. I was alone in it. And nobody reached out that actually give a crap. I was alone in it. And man, everything went wrong. I got in a car wreck. messed up my neck and my back, couldn't really do nothing, lost a ton of money. It just kept piling up, and my wife was pregnant with Sophia, and she was sick as a dog. I don't know how many days where I couldn't go knock jobs out because she was throwing up so bad she couldn't get out of bed, day after day. And I was just dwindling my savings, selling everything I possibly could. And I get a phone call, hey, we need to come look at your pasture. I had about 50, 60 acres I was farming, and we're gonna sell it. I had been leasing it. And this is something I took over. Me and my father had just built a new fence around half of it. Just got it done, I mean, and I'm glad that Dad didn't see me lose it. He come over and visited with the realtor guy that rode around through the, had me ride him around in the pasture to sell it. And I'm touring, losing my farm. But anyway, and so during this time of getting ready to lose the pasture and all that, I want to tell this little spiel is not about me getting mad at God, but I do want to show his love during it. I had telephone poles brought in and was selling them online, and we were broke, okay? I mean broke. $40 broke, and I've got a house payment due, I've got the power bill due, and I've got a load of poles sitting there and no way to load it. My tractor's tore up, the wiring to it, something had happened, so that's on top of it. And actually the fuel pump had been acting up, so the tractor was tearing up on me every freaking day. It seemed like it just wouldn't stop. Well, anyway, I had 40 bucks, and I told my wife, I said, no, I had $240 to my name. It was $240 to rent a little dingo, and you had to pay a $40 fuel deposit or something like that. Well, I sent her up there to get the piece of equipment, and she says, but it's not enough money. I said, I don't know, just go, just try it. And I send her up there, and lo and behold, I lie you not, she calls me bawling her eyes out. She said, they rented it to us. He didn't ask me for the deposit, nothing. And I didn't call and tell them, hey, you didn't forget the little deposit. I took and ran with it. And they pulled up and delivered it, because I think my truck was tore up too. I think the radiator was tore out of it, and that cost me $600. But anyway, I said, get that thing here, and I loaded poles all day long and had enough money to pay every single bill that we had. It did not supply one want, but it supplied every single need that we had. And on top of that, the poles to get there, to be able to do so, there was an oak tree that me and 5 men my size could not reach around. It was standing there and had a great big old limb over top of where you could back the trailer in there and dump it. And the guy that had been delivering the poles told me, said, sorry man, I can't deliver them. That limb's in the way. Well, guy from church, I asked him to come out, and I said, hey man, will you help me cut that? I ain't got no way to get up there to cut it, blah, blah, blah. And he said, man, I might be able to get to it, yada, yada, yada. And I lie you not, he looks at me and says, wouldn't it be something if it just fall over? The next morning, I get there, I've got a picture of it. I'm gonna have to share this picture too. I don't know how long it take me to find it. It's been years now. But the whole top of that thing fell over and split. I called that company. I said, you go ahead and bring all the poles you want to. That limb's out of your way now. I mean, because I prayed, I said, God, I ain't got the money to pay this guy to cut it. I mean, I'm just broke. And then the guy brings the poles. Then all that fell into place. Well, all this stuff keeps happening. After that, friends dying, dad dying, mentor dying. I finally sat down, and I had been slandered on Facebook over a job that was free. And I just said, you know what? I'm pissed at God. Like, I'm just mad at him. Like, I quit my job making over $100,000 a year. I had a company truck, insurance, everything you could think of, I had it. And respect, people treated me decent. That was something else that happened in that time. I took a job delivering pizzas at night so I could fund and pay and do all this stuff. So I'm running pizzas at night, and people talk to me like I'm dirt. And I'm showing up to these houses, and these people treat me like dirt. No offense, I used to make a heck of a lot more than you, and I live in a heck of a lot nicer house. I'm not a dirtbag. To be treated that way, more or less, I was just being spit on and cheated and gypped. That's the part where I noticed that I was nowhere near ready to be in ministry, and I think that's why 99% of pastors that are aided so well just flop, man, and are scared to preach the gospel because they haven't endured hell on earth yet. I thought I had seen tough times moving out at 16, couch surfing, sleeping in my car. And I'll tell you how I started. When I moved out, me and my sister sat on her front porch, and I was figuring up how much I was going to have and what it was going to take to make it. And $40 a month was my allowance to eat on. Now, I dropped down to about 150 pounds, and I'm 6 foot even. So I was pretty daggum thin, skin and bones really, because I was actually working at Rock 10 at the time. And when I was working at Rock 10, I didn't have heat or air. So during the summertime, I'd take an ice cold shower, jump into bed, and most of the time I was like, the house is too hot to sleep anyway. I'll just go roof a house as soon as I get off working for Jay, and would go roof a house and go home and sleep about 3-4 hours, because you'd wake up just soaked sweat. Because if you've ever lived in a single wide, it's like a daggum tin can without air conditioning at all. And then I had a friend of mine that hooked me up with one that sounded like a jet, because the metal tab was hitting the fan. That's the reason I got it. And a friend of mine shows up and helps me fix that. But and in the wintertime, my dad would not help me financially, and I thank God, and you don't anybody think poorly of my father for this. I'd call him and I'd say, Dad, will you go over? I had a little space heater about this big. I said, will you turn it on so to unthaw the pipes in my bathroom in the hallway, or in my bedroom? I had to call and tell him 2-3 times, and just stuff like that, man. And take a hot shower, because your house is freezing. You get you a good hot shower and hurry up and get dressed in the bathroom and run out the door. And I thought that was enough tough times to get me through the next stage, and it wasn't squat, because it was just me. And when, after all this stuff happened, it wasn't just me anymore. I couldn't go $40 a month on eating. I had I had kids. I had my wife. And that's what God needed to show me. Like, son, you ain't seen hard yet. Struggling by yourself versus struggling with your family is two totally different things. And see, when I prayed that prayer, I was thinking, oh, he's going to remove people out of my life that shouldn't be there, whatever, and he did, but man, I needed to remove me. When Jesus told Peter, away from me, Satan, you get the point. When he told Peter, said, get away from me, Satan, it was because Peter was looking inward, just like I was. Heck, I'm a pretty good guy. I pray, I can fast. I've fasted for 28, done a Daniel fast for 28 days. Oh, I can do that. I buy people things and don't ask for anything in return, don't tell anybody. You know, I've done all these good things. Surely I can handle anything. Nah, man. Not when it comes to your family having to suffer with you. It's a total different ball game. And that's what God was trying to show me. And sometimes when you get mad at God, dude, you just need to look in the mirror, and you're probably causing your own problem, because 9 out of 10 of my problems was my fault and my problem. And forever I was blaming, oh, it's because my dad died, or oh, my friends died. Dude, you gotta suck it up. You gotta suck it up. Stuff like this gonna happen. It is. You just gotta, I'm not gonna say get over it, but it's kind of like if you lose a limb or a finger, you don't just sit there and cry about it. You learn to work without it. Because that's what happened with my dad. You know, I'll give you a for instance. Me and my dad was building that fence, the last fence we ever done together. And my dad is 72 years old, did not know it, but had stage 4 lung cancer. And we had worked out there all day, and then we were soaked. And I watched my dad walking away from me, probably, I don't know, 60 yards, something like that, picking up the post, setting them over. And I'm over freaking dead, man. Now, I wouldn't show it, and he wouldn't show it if he was too. That's just how we were. We just kept grinding. But I was thinking, I was like, he's 72 and he's still digging, man. Like, how is he not just dead? Just wore slap out. And we get done, we load everything up. I see this man just drenched and just walking, just like a freaking tank. We're getting in our trucks, and he looks at me and he says, I'll get the gate. And selfish, and this is where I wasn't a man yet. I could take care of a family, I could feed them, I could do everything, but I wasn't a man yet. And then the first thought popped in my head, oh, thank God. I'm glad he's gonna get it. 72 years old, worked with me all day, and he's the one getting the gate. Fast forward. After Dad dies, after he's not calling me every single morning at 5 a.m., 4:30, 5 a.m. to make sure I'm up, at 4:30, to make sure I'm up for the day. And after I've left Pike and everything, I started sleeping in. I didn't have the discipline. I had a dad that would help push me. I had a dad that looked out for me when things, and then after he was gone, I had to get the gate. I had to get up on my own. Did I 9 times out of 10 get up when he was alive without him calling, or before he called me? Yes, but the thing was, is in the back of my head, I gotta make sure I'm up because Dad's gonna be calling. And then next thing you know, he's not calling anymore, to make sure you're getting up, to make sure you're getting to work on time or whatnot. And now I'm at a point where I do not need an alarm clock. I'm up at 3:30 every morning. I mean, it's just like clockwork, sometimes earlier. And it's a tough thing, man, is to it's easy when crap hits the fan like that to to hate and blame God for it because it's someone else other than yourself. Because if you just start waiting and looking why things happen, it'll start making sense and you'll quit getting mad about it. If I don't know how many times, this is one for instance, I was wanting to saw up them telephone poles, and this was another thing that was going on during that time. I was going to make lumber out of it. I had a great idea to make lumber for trailers. And I kept getting sick all the time and didn't really notice or didn't really understand what was going on. My breathing was getting off. I was running that chainsaw on them creosote telephone poles. More or less, I was poisoning myself with the sawdust. And if things would have worked out, I'd have been running a sawmill. Another thing that happened, went to get a tractor front end loader, got sick of my little old 231 Massey, and I roll up there to West End, walk in there, I fill out the paperwork. They call me and say, you were denied. I said, why in the world would I be denied? I'm making good money and all this stuff is going on. They said, well, you can look at your score or whatever, and I looked it up, and my wife had not made a payment a couple months. Well, I got a phone call a month later. They were taking my farm anyway. Good thing I didn't sink $30,000 into that tractor, or I'd have been screwed. And then I was mad at God for that happening. Sometimes you just need to hold on. The lesson's getting ready to be told to you.